PDP caucus in the House of Representatives.
Drawn to a shocking press conference by the Minister for Special Duties, Senator George Akume, on Monday, 30th August 2021 in Abuja. In the said press conference, loaded with expletives and the copious use of demeaning adjectives unbecoming of a person of his status, the former governor of our state unequivocally called for an emergency rule in Benue State, citing a perceived inability of His Excellency Governor Samuel Ortom to contain the herdsmen killing in the state. We wish to respond to the issues raised in the press conference by Senator George Akume, who has never lent his voice to the clarion call for the cessation of incessant killings in Benue State, despite his assumed closeness to the president. Rather, he chose to attack the person of the governor and called for the disbandment of the livestock guards so as to bring further hardship on the displaced people of Benue State, with over 1 million people in IDP camps as we speak. It is pathetic that the person of Akume, who has benefited greatly from the Benue people, can call for emergency rule in Benue State and invite soldiers to further rape and maim our people. The governor, as far as members of this caucus are aware, has called ad infinitum on the Muhammadu Buhari-led federal government to intervene and arrest the protracted bloodletting in the state, with little or, in very many instances, no response from the federal government. We will not dwell on the allegations of a lack of accountability against Governor Ortom on a plethora of issues as raised by Senator George Akume, but we leave him to the legal dictum that says he who claims must prove. The caucus is, however, displeased with the improper language deployed by the minister in addressing His Excellency Governor Samuel Ortom, the defender of the Benue Valley. The caucus calls on the leader of the All Progressives Congress in Benue, and indeed all stakeholders behind his onslaught against the government and people of Benue State, to retract the call for emergency rule in the state for the interest of democracy and explore other means of resolving the nagging and persistent insecurity in the state. This caucus calls on President Muhammadu Buhari to embrace his conscience, rise up and end the bloodletting caused by his kith and kin in Benue State now. The caucus calls on the former governor of our state, Dr. George Akume, to retrace his steps and employ dialogue and amity with the governor of the state, His Excellency Dr. Samuel Ortom. The caucus wishes to state clearly that all Governor Ortom, as the Benue leader, has been saying on the insecurity situation in Benue State are the collective opinion of the entire Benue people and not the personal opinion of the governor, and should not be personalized. The caucus also rejects Senator Akume's call for the disbandment of the livestock guards in the implementation of the Anti-Open Grazing Act. The caucus wishes to caution the presidential spokesman, Mr. Garba Shehu, to stop trivializing and misconstruing Governor Ortom's outspokenness for an attack on President Muhammadu Buhari. Governor Samuel Ortom has the highest regards for the president and will not do or say anything to drag the presidency in the mud. The governor, however, will never sacrifice the lives of his people on the altar of the presidency. This caucus calls on the federal government to urgently redeem her promise of 10 billion naira to resettle the internally displaced people in Benue State. We appeal to the former governor and one of our leaders in the state, Senator George Akume, to eschew his disagreement with the incumbent governor and embrace efforts to end attacks on innocent citizens and indigenes of our dear state. We call on all traditional, political, and neutral persons with the interest of Benue at heart to intervene and foster unity for the common good of our entire state. We also call on the leadership of the National Assembly to intervene and nip promptly in the bud the calls for the breach of democratic structure in Benue through the instrument of a disruptive emergency rule. As the Benue PDP caucus in the House of Representatives, we hereby pass unequivocally a vote of confidence on the leadership of our governor, His Excellency Dr. Samuel Ortom, the defender of the Benue Valley. Thank you very much.
Very correct. And I want to tell you categorically, I represent the governor and I know what we are going through. I have 21 council wards in my federal constituency, but as we speak, 9 are not accessible. That is to tell you that half of my federal constituency is not accessible. And that is the state capital. The humanitarian situation, over 1 million people, a population of just about 4 million. You have about 1.5 million in IDPs.
Across the state.
A man who wakes up a day and does not know the source of his food, where to lay his head. What is 800 million to such a population in a month?
Assuming it's even true.
Assuming that is true. The crisis we have on our hand is to make sure the federal government and every well-meaning son and daughter of Benue pull hands together to solve the issue, not to pull down the government. This is beyond politics. When these people come, they don't ask whether you are APC or PDP. They get the shot out of you. As we speak, there is no day people are running. Women, children, the aged. And this is becoming, it's not something to trivialize with politics. So when you look at what is going to the governor, also look at the humanitarian crisis in the state and ask you, how much is the federal government giving to the state to cater for the displaced persons? I don't think that you have an answer to that. How much the federal government is sending to Benue State? There is nothing in that direction. Rather, the state is being strained with our meager IGR and what comes from the federation to cater for these people, which is not even enough. Thank you.
The chief imam of Apo Mosque, is he Governor Samuel Ortom? Is he? Does he belong to PDP? Does he belong to Benue? Is he from Benue? No. The Sheikh Gumi, who made that satirical statement last week about the insecurity in the country, is he Ortom? Is he contesting for anything? And, you know, okay, what about Senator Naira yesterday? Did you listen to him? Many of the governors, Masari, even Masari who is the governor of the home state of Mr. President. I hope you have been listening to him. The point is that Governor Ortom is so comfortable because he's with the people. I tell you, what you require to be politically relevant today in Nigeria, especially in Benue, is to have organic link with your people, is to defend your people, is to rise up and speak while others are refusing to speak, like we're experiencing now. And Ortom is doing all of this. So why do you think Ortom will use insecurity to advance his own political cause? If you say so, then that means you're not in the country. And the reality on the ground. Do you want Ortom to go and sleep? The man even made us laugh yesterday. I was just telling you that anytime he thinks, anytime he thinks of the sufferings of Benue people in the IDP camp, he goes flat. He said it openly before the camera. Everybody was there. And that's the truth of the matter. So the point is that, my brother, tell me which part of the country today that is safe, apart from the south side that is relatively safe. So anybody, you should rather be tasking political leadership or political leaders or elites from other parts of the country who are not talking and not to brand Ortom as somebody who is using security to seek political relevance. A man who had been chairman, secretary of a political party, vice chairman of a political party, publicity secretary of a political party, became national auditor of PDP, and became minister of state, and now is governor for 2 terms. What kind of relevance do you think this kind of man will be seeking again? God has made it for him. The Benue people stand by him gidigba. So there's no amount of distraction that will make anybody to change that man's course, because he knows very clearly that if he must be in politics, if he must be alive, he must help his people. And that's what he's doing within his own best.
Thank you.